first question answered. We'll look at the Mint mapping interface, how to build URLs on Mint, regular expressions, uploading files. And if I don't explain to you what Mint is, then none of that is going to make sense. So what is Mint? Well, it's an acronym, the metadata ingestion tool developed by the National Technical University of Athens. It's open source, and so it can be accessed directly via the web. You don't need to install any programs, you don't need to download anything, and all the metadata that you submit is stored at NTUA. Basically, Mint will transform databases, and they can be from XML or they can be CSV spreadsheets, and they will turn it into European data model XML files, and those can be harvested by Europeana. So I think that Mint is good for people with a background in catalogs and databases, but they don't necessarily have a background in XML or Python, etc. In other words, somebody like me, because I've worked in with catalogs and databases, but that extra link to go from the working database over to something that you export, I've always needed help with, and so this is why I find Mint very useful. So just to give you an overview, and I mean this is probably replicated in other ways for other aggregators, but basically Mint can be the platform where data providers can submit their metadatas, and it can be in CSV, XML, or zip files, other ways as well. And then they can either upload and map, edit, transform their data sets, and they can use have help from the aggregator as much or as little as they need. In my experience, some data providers need quite a bit of support. Others really can just sort of go off and do their thing and be very low maintenance. But then that will then export EDM XML files, which can then be harvested by Europeana. And we're going to go straight in. I want to show you straight away what the mapping interface looks like. I was thinking, if I was a yoga instructor, this would be like going into something without any kind of warm-up. So like straight at the beginning of the lesson, we'd just be straight going into handstands without any stretching or anything, which wouldn't be good. But I think we can do this. So can everybody see the Mint mapping interface? If you can.
Yes, Tom.
Yes, great, lovely. Okay, so this is where everything happens in terms of transforming your data, and it could be any kind of data, and structuring it into a way that Europeana can receive. So if we look at the left-hand column, this is what I've uploaded onto Mint, and it's a collection of early wildlife recordings from the British Library. And I can call this was a CSV upload, and these are just the names that I gave the columns. It don't have to be any fancy, you don't have to sort of, it could be column 1, column 2 if you wanted. But you know, they can be anything. as long as you know you know what's in them. And then if I look at click on the eye, then that will tell me what's that will show me what that is the identifier. And it's loading a bit now. Well, one moment, I just need to log in again. Right, so here we are again. Yeah, so I can, if I just click on the eye, that will display all everything that was in that field on in the column. So these are just the sort of shelf marks, the identifier. And if I look at subject, this will give me all the subject names. It's a lot about the common names for the different species, including the Latin name. So that gives you an idea. So you have an overall view of what's in your uploaded document. But then when you go to the actual mapping interface, it comes in different sections. The most important sections are the provided show and aggregation. If we open up provided show, this is all the contributor fields, description, identifier, language, and all you need to do if you want to map something over, I could say if I wanted to move the species over, let's say I just wanted to move the species over to creator, I'm just dragging and dropping, and then I put it in there. And that's really all you need to do to get all your information in your spreadsheet into a working format that that is going to be good for Europeana. Now, I don't want to put species, so I can just click the negative and remove it. Similarly, for the subject fields, I can open this up. This has got everything mapped over it. So this is the subject field has already got these values dragged over to it. But also I can add DBpedia links. I can add Wikidata links, which are very useful, into the RDF field rather than the text field. So this means you can have either a field that receives text-based information or machine readable information. So if I click on show values at the Wiki URL, you can see that these are all the links relevant to each species that's been recorded, and that will take you to the Wikidata entry for that particular species of bird. So if I then want to see how I'm doing, I can click preview, and then I have several choices. I have either, you can see this on this right-hand column, you can see either item or EDM or Europeana. And if I click on the first one, which is the common redstart, first of all, I'm looking at the item which I've uploaded. Quite simple. These are just the names of the column. And then if I click on EDM, it shows me what the EDM is, shows me what the EDM is displaying. That is the actual structure that Europeana will receive. And I'm sure you have noticed that it's saying XML has failed EDM validation. This is Killian's point about making mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes, and Mint is actually very good for making mistakes. It doesn't let you, it won't accept dodgy data. It'll stop you before you can do something wrong. So it's told me here there's something wrong. So I can click here and it's saying, as I know it is because it's a deliberate mistake, it's saying DC subject should not have both RDF resort attribute and text value populated. So I can think, oh, I've made a mistake in the mapping there. I'll go back to my subject. And I can see, whoops, I've accidentally added some value into the RDF resource. So I will get rid of that because that shouldn't be there. And then I will go back and have a look, see if that's improved things. Yes, it likes that, gives me a green tick. So it's happy with that. And then I can look at the preview of Europeana. Now, it's not actually the most recent preview. It's going back a few years to what it used to look like on Europeana. You probably, some of you have been looking at Europeana for a while will recognize this. But what it does do is it shows that things are working okay. It's displaying in the right way. It's got an object image that's working. It's got a link. It's got a link, and I can test that link. And it's taking me to the relevant web page. So that's great. And it seems to play, so that's fine. So it's a good way of confirming, yes, you're doing the right thing. You've got all your ducks in a row, and this will work. Now, I will go back and see which else I need to talk to you about. So the next thing I'd like to talk to you about is the regular expressions that you can use on Mint. Now this is, Mint is very good for sort of tweaking information. You can make slight adjustments. If you wanted to do a huge amount of editing, then you'd probably want to do it either on a CSV spreadsheet, or you may want to use OpenRefine or some other editing platform. But Mint is very good at just making slight corrections, nudging things into the right direction. So I'm going to discover, I think, that the subject fields, going back to the subject fields, did you see, if you saw that I clicked on the values of the subject field there, and it's displaying what's happening in each subject field. And you can see first one is Turdus merrillar semicolon blackbird semicolon turdidae, which isn't really very nice to, you know, it's not going to be a very useful subject term on Europeana. So they're separated by semicolons. So what you'd really want to do is you click this F button and you get to editing the metadata that's there. And you have various options on the drop down, you can replace with regular expressions, trim, split, and you can also tokenize. And this means that if you tell Mint what the delimiter is, and in this case it's a semicolon, then it will break those field entries up into separate elements. So you will get Turdus merula and blackbird and turdidae, which are the different species names and common names. And I can show you that if we go back to our preview. As you can see in the DC subject field, the original one, it's saying common redstart semicolon turdidae. But if I go to the mapped field, then you can see that it's broken it up. So you just get a separate common redstart and turdidae, Phoenicurus, Phoenicurus. And if I go to the Europeana preview, you can see under what, you can see that you've got separate subject entries. And if I hadn't done that, it would have given me a big compound splat of a long, not very useful term with semicolons all over it. Now, another useful function is, for example, say DBpedia here, say they were, say I needed to change HTTP to HTTPS. And you put all these entries in here already, then that's not going to be very useful. And you need to change it. Then you can use the same, you can use, you can change things in the same way. I'll use this example of the subject again. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to say replace with regular expressions. Now, say this is just as an example. Say I didn't want to have the word blackbird in there. I want to replace blackbird everywhere with sparrow, which I'm going to put as an example, but I'm certainly not going to change that. But basically, you can see on this side, this is the original, and this is the result of your editing. So if I applied changes to that, that would change all the blackbirds to sparrows. But you could do other things like that. Say you had a typo, you could which had replicated itself everywhere, or say you had HTTPS, or we'll come to this in a bit more detail. For example, you have your website has changed all the images to larger versions of the image. It's pretty much the same URL, but it ends with large image.jpg instead of small image.jpg. This is something I've been doing a lot of work recently, just doing a small revision so that it's linking to the right URL. Before I do anything, I'm going to make sure I'm not putting this in, and I'm going to go away from that. But so something like that, using a regular expression, means that you can change things very easily. So The next thing I'd like to tell you is about how to build up URLs in the RDF fields. So we're going to go out of the provided show section, and then that's the who, what, where, when, how section. And then we'll open aggregation. So this is the information that you're giving to actually build up the website. Make sure that the links are all fine. Make sure that the thumbnails are working. You've got the right statements in here, and you've got the right information in the link to the digital object, which is in the is shown by field. And you've got the link to the web page, which is the is shown at. Let's just open the is shown at. You can see that it's happy with this because it's got a green tick, and Mint's very good at telling you, yes, I like this. And it also says if you open it up, if you open up the at mark, there's going to be something in the RDF field. So this is many of the websites are going to sort of be built around a pattern. So there'll be a static bit of a site, followed by the defining characteristic, which will mean that it'll separate to the different web pages. And so this can be very useful in Mint. You can just build webs things to map over. So, for example, every bit of information, every web page on this collection starts with the website address, and then it's followed by the identifier, and you can see that the identifier here is green. That's because it's unique. It's only got unique entries. So if you put that static address in, followed by the changing DC identifier, and followed by however it might end, it may end in .html, or it may end in .jpeg or .mp3, something like that. Then when you go to the preview, and let's look at the stock dove this time. Then you can see that Mint has built up a website, a web link based around the different sections. So it's taken that static address, going all the way up to the slash. It's then put in the identifier, and that's the thing that changes all the time. And then it's add that V0 right at the end, because that's how they all end. So it's built that around the identifier, and that can be very useful rather than you have to deduce every single web page. Okay, and I'm going to now carry on. We've talked about building URLs. I've talked a bit about how Mint won't allow mistakes and things flash in red if you've made a mistake, and they're quite good at identifying what a problem is. So it won't let something go through before you've fixed it, which saves a lot of time, because if you put in a tiny little mistake, then it goes all the way over to Europeana. Then Europeana say, well, we spotted a mistake, and then we'll have to fix it again. So it's a very good way of saying, don't go any further with this one until you fix this issue. then I think and transforming and publishing on Mint, you see a different part of the system. This is, you would go back to your tabs, and you can see you're going away from the mapping, but you can see you have a different set of options. You can transform. You can transform into the EDM from here, and then once you're ready to do that, you publish. You can see here, this is for sounds, we do 2 transformations, but you can do for most of our formats, it's just 1. But you can see, because I've made some changes in the mapping, it's giving me a red flag just to let me know. So if I wanted to take all those new changes that I've made to a mapping, I would need to delete that transformation and then retransform it, and that will take all those changes in the mapping that I'd made. It would change, bring them into place, and it will once you transform, it will create new EDM XML files which have got those changes in place, and then after that it will publish. And you can see that for aggregators, it's very useful, because I can not only look at the data that the British Library has been making, but also other partners. So I could go in to see what another partner has been doing. So if they're getting in touch with me saying, look, we can't get this to work, then I can go in, have a look at it. And if I can't work it out, then I can talk to NTUA, and they can see what's going wrong. So it's a good way of having keeping a good overview of all the metadata that you're dealing with. On this side, on the left-hand side, also, this is all the sort of administration where you can set up usernames, set up new institutions, give publishing rights to users, get reports on how the aggregation is doing. And I think we're getting close to 11 o'clock, and I'm going to say thanks for listening there. If you have got an audio or audio related collection you're interested in sharing, I'd love to hear from you. But I am now going to see if there are any questions, and I haven't been looking at the chat, so and if you have any other points that you'd like to make, please let me know. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. And for now, I only see one question from Zachos about examples of LOD vocabularies used in Mint. Maybe also Zachos can elaborate on this, or you?
Yeah, could
see, Tom, if there's an easy response to this.
So do you mean so yes, I mean, if for things like Wikidata, then you can include those. I mean, for Wikidata, I was going to I would use OpenRefine to see if I could sort of fetch Wikidata entries. Yes, but I mean, I would use, that's possible to bring them in that way. Mint doesn't actually, I mean, if you put in a sort of list of words, Mint wouldn't bring up corresponding Wikidata entries, but you would need to use that via OpenRefine. But then once you've got that, then you can map them over to the RDF section.
Can I just say something?
Sure.
Well, first, thank you very much for this excellent presentation. We have been using Mint. We started recently using Mint. This was very, very helpful. We are in process of learning all these functions. I found it very interesting and very useful. Now, when I was in touch with the NTUA about installing and adjusting Mint for our collections, we had the same issue about that Mint is not very helpful in making. It doesn't let you make mistakes, like you said. So I suggested that during the mapping procedure, they should put the undo button, because once you make the mapping and you start transforming the collections, if you do one mistake, you have to start all over again. And we had the same case. We had to resubmit the collections. We had to redo the transformation, but I suggested that they put the undo function. So once we do something that we didn't want to do, we can undo the process and continue to work from there. But that was just a suggestion. And I was also wondering if you happen to use the procedure with the structural metadata, not the one with the not only the one with the resource. You mean under the for example, under the identifier, if you happen to use the structural metadata for any of your collections.
Yes, we do. So what you mean, the do you mean more sort of hierarchical data sets? Yeah, I mean, that is that's been sort of difficult. I think it is possible to create, you know, information at collection level and then item level, but then it needs to map over to Europeana, and yeah, I mean, it depends how you map it, and some things can be very very complicated depending on your data. Yes, I mean, we've used it. It tends, most of the collections that I've worked on have been kind of well sort of flat, if you like. So not so much using the collection information. Okay.
Okay. Just as this is just the final suggestion from my part. Maybe we should, because I suppose that many aggregators are using Mint, and it's quite useful tool for this kind of procedures. I would suggest that we create something like a small network of aggregators that have been using Mint, so we can share this knowledge and we can share all this information, because many aggregators have been using it for years, and they have been enriching their metadata. They have been circulating all these procedures. But we are relatively new in this. We are here to learn from all of you. Yeah. And in order to do that, I would suggest that this small network of aggregators that have been using Mint, maybe we should be in touch all the time, so we can expand our knowledge even more.
Yes, sure. We have a Mint users group on Basecamp, and I'm sure I can invite you to that group. So I think that would be that'd be good. I would like us to talk about it a bit more, actually. So there's not very much discussion, but I think it would be good to kind of talk amongst ourselves, because I'm sure that there are sort of some problems you know, or ways round solving problems that you know, it makes it so much easier if somebody's already encountered this difficulty and already solved it, and you can find out about it. But yes, you should definitely be part of the Mint users group. Yeah, definitely. And it's worth to mention that we got from the feedback from Europeana, we got many information and very helpful instructions on how to continue implementing these changes in our metadata and continue enriching. And this is worth mentioning, I think, because we have been sending all these harvesting requests, and from the feedback we got from Europeana, we have been able to explore further these functionalities and find even more functionalities and find even more capabilities. And this way we came up with much more enriched collections. And this is very important, yes. Okay. Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. It was very helpful. You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Zachos. I will also share this feedback with Eleftheria, who worked with you a lot. Are there more questions for Tom, or comments or suggestions? I don't see anything yet. So I hope that also for other Mint users, potential Mint users, this was a helpful start, so to say, a helpful way to get into it. And let's see how inspirational that will be. I've seen Mint users growing over the last couple of months among the aggregators. So that's a good development, and we will see how it goes. I hope, Tom, as you're now exposing yourself as an expert in the Mint, that you don't mind if also people contact you with practical advice. No, not at all. No, please do. Yeah, very happy to. And as Zachos said, you know, it'd be really good to be just talking about these. You know, these not even problems, but just you know, things that will improve the metadata, easy way around things. I mean, the way I see it, maybe we can, because I have had numerous teleconferences with the NTUA team, and I have been bombing them with suggestions for Mint. I have been telling them, why don't you do it like that? Why? Because in my mind, there could be some improvements that will make our life easier. For example, the very simple thing, the undo process. I mean, you can find the undo process in every open software, like for example, and many more. I have been making many suggestions. Maybe from our network, because we are the ones that have been, we are using it for many hours. Maybe with our network, we can write down all these suggestions and send them collectively to the NTUA group, and perhaps get some feedback from them, if they are applicable, if they can do it, if it's achievable, and so on. Yeah, I think yes, it would be good for the Mint users to just be yeah, kicking some ideas around with the NTU gang. Yeah. Cool. Good. Okay, so then there's basically a call to action to get the Mint user group closer together and benefit from the peer-to-peer support between and among the aggregators using Mint. And yeah, I hope it will work out. I mean, for NTUA, I can only think, there's no one in the room right now, that they always have to find a balance, like developing Mint, keep developing Mint versus supporting the
the existing features and maintenance to keep it running for the aggregators using it. So that's, I think, sometimes a tough choice, but let's see what is possible. Okay, final look at the chat. There are no new questions. So I think as it's slightly past 12 o'clock, I think it's also a good time to close this morning session.